Three little maids from school are we? 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 The ladies chant in unison.
Guys, this isn't working. We can't chant three little maids when there are obviously more than three of us.
Liz says as she bursts away from the sacred circle.
Liz, honey, you know this is new to all of us. There's no reason to get so upset.
Melissa says as she places a hand on Liz's shoulder. Liz reacts like she's been touched by a scalding hot pan and crosses the room.
Well, what are we supposed to do, guys? Change it to 5 little maids from school, are we? I mean, fuck, that's abuse. That's abuse of the strictures. And I left my fucking family for this. I left my family for this.
Liz screams.
Oh, fuck you, Liz. Mark killed himself and my kids when I didn't come home.
Chastity screams.
This is who we are now.
The new witches
on the new kids on the block.
All of the girls except Liz chant in unison. At that moment, Rebecca's husband, Jordan, enters the room. Rebecca falls to her knees in prayer. Witches? There's something going on in town, Jordan states. Liz rolls her eyes. The rest of the ladies look on in curiosity. Each slowly strikes a pose while listening. The concept of death from the Final Destination series has somehow crossed from the film realm into our universe, Jordan continues. Melissa drops to her knees in prayer. It's up to you, ladies, to unite in harmony. Harmony smiles, having been mentioned for the first time in this sequel appearance of her cabal. She drops to her knees in prayer. To unite in power and send the concept of death from the Final Destination series back into the film realm, Jordan finishes. Once his powerful speech ends, he faints on the nearby fainting couch, having been expended spiritually, conveying his important message.
Jordan!
Rebecca ceases her prayer and runs to her husband.
We have to heal him!
Rebecca yells as she turns to her coven. All of the ladies quickly rush over to Jordan and place a hand on him. They all look expectantly to Liz, who stands across the room with her arms crossed. The other witches use kinesthetic response to pressure Liz, who finally relents and joins them in the center of the sacred circle. She places her hand on Jordan, and they all start to chant.
5 little maids from school are we? 5 little maids from school are we? 5 little maids from school are we?
And just as Liz is about to falter again and say,
Guys, this isn't fucking working!
A purple aura cascades around Jordan and lifts him 5 feet into the air. The witches continue chanting. Jordan's passed-out body hovers in the purple aura when a beam of celestial light pierces the aura and awakens Jordan. The witches continue chanting. Jordan stares directly into the celestial light and sears his eyes blind. He screams as he is filled with the all-knowing secrets of the universe. His head explodes. He shrieks. The witches continue chanting. The head of a fetus grows out of the hole in Jordan's neck, and in the span of 5 seconds, the head ages and grows from fetus to 45. Jordan was the youngest and sexiest husband of the group. A loud crack echoes throughout the land, and Jordan falls to the floor, good as new. I mean, seared blind, but good as new. Little Maisie G is looking forward to Beggar's Night. Her cousin Chi-Chi lives in Northridge, and Northridge is the best for trick-or-treat. Chi-Chi's house serves as the base for operations. Her grandma will make all sorts of delicious treats and punches. Her entire family will be there, some in costume, some not. Goosebumps and other family-friendly Halloween movies will play on the TV. You grab a pillowcase and all of the cousins will race around Northridge, which, due to its population density, is a mecca for candy. Little Maisie G can't wait for her mom to come pick her up and drive her to Chi-Chi's house. She's already all dressed up in her best fat old lady costume. Little Maisie G thought it was so funny that when she told her mom,
I need to get clothes for my fat old grandma costume,
her mom gave her her own clothing. Why did her mom think of herself like that? While little Maisie G is deeply lost in thought over her upcoming trick-or-treat plans in Northridge with Chi-Chi, the concept of death from the Final Destination film series was doing that shit he does. A nearby teenager trying to make a little extra cash by walking dogs is holding 3 vicious Dobermans by an already fraying leash. These are the sorts of things the concept of death from the Final Destination film series lives for. The vicious dogs love the smell of the nearby hot dog vendor, the same hot dog vendor that little Maisie G stands next to as she waits for her mother to pick her up from school. The hot dog vendor opens up his hot dog compartment to prepare a glizzy for his customer. When he does, he accidentally loops his apron string around the temperature gauge. The temperature gauge snags and turns all the way up to the hottest setting. The water in the hot dog compartment bubbles and boils. A small hole in the hot dog compartment starts to whistle like a tea kettle. The hot dog vendor bends over to find the source of the whistling, and when he puts his ear up to the hole to confirm that that's where the whistle is, the pressure becomes too immense, and the boiling hot dog water shoots out of the hole and sears the old man's face. He screams. The dogs freak out over the commotion and break the leash. Hot dog water covers the ground under little Maisie G's feet. The dogs love the smell of hot dog water and rush to the scene. Little Maisie G doesn't like dogs, and the gnashing, barking dogs send her running. She slips and falls and rolls around in the hot dog water. She stands up just in time, but it's too late. The dogs maul and maim and destroy and eat and eventually shit out little Maisie G.
He passed away in 2022.
The widow says as she slams the door in the face of the coven. Melissa turns away sadly and looks at the rest of her friends.
Tony Todd is dead, girls,
she says with a somber glance at the ground. Following Jordan's announcement, the girls immediately loaded up HBO Max and watched all 7 Final Destination films. They learned how the concept of death from the series thought, the tips and tricks for defeating it, and if there was one thing they learned through all iterations of the story, it's that Tony Todd was always the key to destroying it.
Great! Just fucking great!
Liz says as she sits dejected on Tony Todd's front porch. Suddenly, the front door opens again.
He was just an actor, you know,
the widow says through the screen door.
A great actor. One of the most underrated of his day, but an actor nonetheless,
she says as she starts to shut the door again. Harmony, imbued with the spirit, jumps up.
Wait!
The widow pauses and peers from behind the 3/4 shut door.
We need to talk to the screenwriter!
In the hills of Locust Grove, there is a small clearing in which an airplane crashed shortly after the Cold War. The plane was filled to the brim with undetonated explosives, and the people of Locust Grove knew to keep a solid distance. That's why they surrounded the small clearing with a landfill.
"That ought to keep 'em away,"
the mayor at the time stated emphatically. Just outside of the landfill, at a small mom-and-pop diner, Dovey's, sits a young boy with an important secret to tell his girlfriend. Oh, it's just that... I don't know, Jess. It's just that with Grundy Community College being so close, and with me going to Upper Arlington Prep in the summer before med school...
Say it, Travis. Just say you're breaking up with me.
A wind blows through Jessica's hair, revealing a small birthmark on her neck. The wind, they didn't realize, is one of the many manifestations of the concept of death in the Final Destination series. The wind casually blows through the diner, from the open door in the back, through the cracked window, across Lower Grady Street, up the heaping piles of trash in the landfill, and right to the propeller of that old Cold War plane. Jess, it's not like that at all.
Then what is it, Travis?
A raccoon finds his way onto the wing of the plane. He isn't that heavy, but it's just enough displacement for the concept of death to work with. A little jostle from the raccoon, and the wind in the propeller is just enough to turn over the engine for the first time in 50 years. The plane slowly inches forward. I fucked Stacy Collins! Travis finally blurts out.
You did what?
Jessica screams. The plane crests the top of the first landhill heap. A worker notices, but as the plane starts to careen down the trash pile, he's decapitated by the wing. She was my tour guide at Upper Arlington, and one thing led to another, and Jessica starts gathering up her purse.
You disgust me, Travis Finch, you pig!
She takes her milkshake and throws it in his face. She takes her plate and tosses it into the street. A car who is driving way too fast swerves to miss the plate of food hurled from the diner and swerves his car to the right. Just as the plane enters the street, the car and the plane collide, detonating the long-forgotten bombs and incinerating everything and everyone within a 2-mile radius. The coven waits patiently in the New Line Cinema offices for their meeting with screenwriter Jeffrey Reddick.
These Hollywood types are so annoying,
Melissa says as she drinks the rest of her Pamplemousse LaCroix.
You just have to be patient. These men are up to important stuff.
Melody adds positively as the door to Mr. Reddick's office opens. A group of middle-aged men exit and chatter amongst themselves.
Mr. Reddick, your 345 is here?
The assistant states at 4:25 p.m. Jeff cordially extricates himself from the group of men and greets the ladies. Ladies! I hear you'd like to talk about Final Destination, is that correct? He says pleasantly. Melissa rolls her eyes.
You'll have to excuse her,
Rebecca says.
It's just been a long day.
Well, we always have time for our fans. Right this way. Jeffrey extends his arm and holds open the door to his office. When all the ladies have entered, he shuts the door and sits behind his desk. You know, when I first came up with the idea for Final Destination, I wasn't sure the studios would buy it. You know, it's...
Cut the shit, Reddick! We're here because it's happening for real, and we think you know something about it,
Liz says as she slams her palms on the table. The other ladies in the group stare wide-eyed at Liz, but decide, through kinesthetic response, not to interject. Mr. Reddick sits back in his chair. He produces a bottle of cognac, which he then pours into 6 glasses. He passes the shots around to the other women in silence. I was afraid this might happen, he says as he downs the shot. He stands up and looks out the window. It's a little warm in here, he says as he cracks open the window the allotted 1/4 inch.
What do you mean you were afraid this might happen?
Melissa says with an air of curiosity. Mr. Reddick sighs deeply and returns to the desk. I was plagued by terrible nightmares while I was writing this script. It was like it was forcing me to write it. Something malevolent was speaking through me, he says with grave sincerity. I couldn't put a finger on it, but I could feel that there was something out there guiding my writing process.
Like a ghostwriter?
Yes and no, ma'am. Yes and no. You see, it was like, as I was creating it and thinking I was developing these ideas out of whole cloth, I had this other sense that I was describing something real. Mr. Reddick lets those words sit with the ladies. His assistant knocks at the door and brings in a binder for Mr. Reddick. The women notice that the strap of her high heel has come loose and is dragging on the floor. Rebecca considers alerting her, but she receives a psychic message from Melissa that reminds her,
This is all part of the plan.
So she says nothing. Mr. Reddick takes the binder from the assistant, mutters, This will just take a second, to the ladies, and crosses to the other side of the office. Mr. Reddick and his assistant don't seem to notice the sparks coming from the frayed computer cord under Mr. Reddick's desk, but the witches can see it, and they're pleased.
I think this is gonna work!
Chastity cheers under her breath. The women watch as Mr. Reddick and his assistant finish their brief meeting about the binder. The assistant tucks the binder under her arm and heads for the door. Just as she crosses in front of Jeff's path, he steps on her loose shoe strap and she trips. As she's falling, in what feels like slow motion, Mr. Reddick reaches out to grab her, but it's too late. The assistant braces herself on Mr. Reddick's desk, which loosens the cord on the computer and spills the remaining cognac from the bottle. Sparks fly, and the assistant reels back, without realizing that Mr. Reddick has gotten behind her to stabilize her. They collide into each other, and the force sends them both hurtling through the open glass window, careening to the sidewalk, dead on impact. The cabal of women waste no time.
Seal all the exits and entrances!
Melissa screams. The women jump from their seats and hurriedly shut all of the doors and windows.
We have to trap it while it's still here!
Liz adds in a rush. Melody slams the office door shut, and Rebecca pushes a couch in front of it. Melissa and Chastity draw all of the curtains in the room, while Liz upturns Mr. Reddick's desk and uses it to block the destroyed window.
We know you're in here, the concept of death from the Final Destination series!
Rebecca screams with all of her might. The women look around the room, which is suddenly filled with clouds of evil dust. The clouds begin to whirl around the room and form into the unmistakable shape of a human skull.
It's working, ladies! It's trapped!
The women watch as the skull shape dissipates and the dirty fog cycles around the room viciously like a tornado. The ladies grab hands and begin chanting in unison. The women continue chanting as the concept of death from Final Destination writhes around the room. Though he is a mere concept now being represented by evil dust, the women can tell that
He's losing strength! Chant number 2, ladies! Now that we've weakened the concept of death from the Final Destination series, it is time to cast him back into the realm of film and television!
Chastity exposits. As each lady states her line of the incantation, the remaining ladies slice the palm of their hands and fling their blood onto the floor.
If I live to see the 7 wonders, I make a prayer to the rainbow's edge. I'll never live to match the beauty again. The rainbow's edge!
The women finish the incantation, and the concept of death from the Final Destination series is sucked violently, bit of dust by bit of evil dust, into the nearest television screen, which in this case was in the nearby New Line Cinema's waiting room.
I can't believe we really did it,
Liz says, proud of herself. She reaches out to her dear friends and they all hold hands. As the credits of Final Destination 8 Bloodlines 2 roll, the women stand up and applaud. When the in memoriam title card pops up for late screenwriter Jeffrey Reddick, they all bow their heads in a moment of silence. The remaining audience members all clear out. Jordan, Rebecca's husband and figurehead of the coven, stands up and holds audience with the women. You ladies saved the world. Every day, people will walk by you on the street and laugh at the way you speak in unison with each other. All the girls laugh. But I know, and we all together know, that we wouldn't be alive today if you ladies hadn't sent the concept of death from Final Destination back into the film realm where it belongs. The women all hug and kiss Jordan. He's slowly becoming all of their husband, and walk out of the theater.
I wonder how long they'll milk this franchise now,
Rebecca says as she laces her hand with Jordan.
Did you see they're making a Final Destination TV series?
Melissa says with her arms crossed.
I really loved the Chucky and Scream TV series, so I'll be tuning in!
Chastity says excitedly as she opens her phone and puts the premiere date in her iPhone calendar. The witches get to their 5 separate cars and look at each other. Jordan gets into the passenger seat of his car and gives the women a moment to themselves. They all smile knowingly, put their pinky fingers together in the shape of a pentagram, and start chanting.
Light as a feather, stiff as a board. 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 Light as a feather.
Finally, Rebecca breaks the chain and says, I'll see you guys at home, with a wink. She gets in her car and watches all of the other women leave. It's respectful for Jordan to come home last, they believe. Rebecca turns the ignition to her car and it explodes instantaneously. Melissa is the first to stop her own car. She sees the explosion in her side and rearview mirrors and slams on the brake, just as Rebecca's decapitated and bloody head smashes into her windshield, followed shortly thereafter by Jordan's head into her rear window. In unison, all of the witches howl. End.
My mom stapled my hole shut.